Say tricks.
So, there are a few different videos I've been trying to get to, a warlock build and a couple of guides, but something has been prohibiting me from getting anything done.
You dare interrupt! Has the tadpole ravaged your senses?
Kichoki. Fine.
Y'all, I have a problem. A crippling addiction to weaponry, which has led me to a vault that is always filled to the brim and having to use my characters and postmaster as additional storage space. It sucks, and I am confident that many of you are also experiencing this same dilemma. This footage of my inventory isn't even the worst it has been. I had started to do a little tidying up, mainly in the armor department, before I decided to make a video about this new process I have created for myself. I can be a very indecisive person when it comes to parting with my weapons. Armor is much easier to dump because I can just focus new pieces, but weapons often require lots of time invested to get the perfect roll. I want to explain how I got where I am today. I will put chapters for you to skip this if you like, but I feel like it is at least a little bit useful to know how this can happen to you. Many years ago, I would just keep whatever weapon I found to be cool. For me, that just meant it was either fun to use or it looked cool. Honestly, the feel of a weapon mattered much more to me than its perks back then. Most of the weapons I had were definitely not popular or meta rolls. There is nothing wrong with collecting weapons this way. You should always do what makes you happy and keeps the game fun for you. I am not here to tell you what you need to be doing. I just want to share what I have done and what I am doing now. So back to the story. When my criteria was only the cool factor, my vault was easy to maintain. This was also around the time when they first added the collections to the game, so I had dismantled everything that I could just reacquire from the collections. In the beginning, I didn't mind spending materials to pull weapons out, but eventually it began to feel like a waste of my materials. I had to pull the weapon out, then I had to infuse it up to max power, and then maybe even masterwork it. I got tired of it. So the first step I took that led me to today is I pulled out every single exotic weapon and armor. I still keep one copy of each in my vault to this day, mainly because my favorite thing to do nowadays is making new builds. Then, one day Bungie decided to stop making overpowered ritual weapons. They were actually called pinnacle weapons at the time. I had tasted power. Those weapons often overshadowed most exotics. They were absolutely bonkers. We had the recluse and the mountaintop, and they were permanently attached to my hip, but now they were going to be useless. So I decided I wanted to start trying to get some actual god rolls for myself of other weapons. I was already using dim, but I had never really paid attention to this little thumbs up they put on the weapon icons. I investigated and learned this was their way of telling you that they think this is a roll you should definitely keep. And in the beginning, I did find these weapons to be much better than a lot of the ones I had, and I started keeping them. After a while of this, I became much more fluent in Destiny weapon perks, and had started to disagree here and there with the thumbs up. I had heard of this website LightGG, but never used it myself. Their role appraiser tool quickly became my new standard. I would keep anything rated A or higher. This eventually filled my vault, so then I used LightGG to compare my duplicate weapons, and I would only keep the highest rated. From this point forward, I would only keep one copy of any given weapon, and I would only replace a weapon with a better version of itself. I wanted a god roll of every weapon in the game, and this has been my goal ever since. After setting this goal for myself, it has taken years to get myself to the predicament I have now. They have added many exotics since then, as well as crafting. I think crafting has actually added to my problem. I could always get rid of some crafted weapons because I can always craft them again later, and maybe I will at some point, but that kind of takes me back to why I started this journey in the first place. I was tired of wasting materials, and I still don't like to do that. So now I have reached a point where there are simply too many things for me to collect, so I need to change my way of thinking. It is time for me to let go. But I am so indecisive, and all of the what ifs make this an extremely challenging thing for me. I needed a process that would enable me to feel confident that it is okay to dismantle any given weapon. But before I share what I came up with, here's how I cleaned up my armor collection. And I promise this will be much quicker than the story I just shared. And I offer my apologies if that story was too long. I used Destiny Item Manager and D2 Armor Picker. I am not going to explain how to use these tools right now, but here is a video that can teach you if you need it. When this season started, I went through all of my loadouts for each character. I deleted some of them that no longer fit in today's sandbox, and for the others I used D2 Armor Picker to ensure each loadout had the best possible armor for whatever it was trying to do. Then I used this website, Destiny Recipes, and their Vault Cleaner tool to double check myself and filter out everything that was not being used in a loadout. Then I dismantled all of those pieces. It was somewhere around 30 pieces, but it did nothing for my vault space. All it did was free up the inventory space on my individual characters. So now it was time for the weapons. I was going to use the Destiny Recipes Vault Cleaner tool to clean up my weapons as well, but I couldn't pull the trigger on it. But they also have their own rating system for weapons, as well as armor if you didn't notice that. This is where I started to form my idea for how I'm going to maintain my vault space going forward. Spreadsheets. Yeah, I know, so exciting, right? But I'm actually a little proud of this thing I've built. So we have 3 rating systems: Destiny Item Manager, Light GG, and now Destiny Recipes. But they each do it differently. So I took all of my legendary weapons, divided them into sheets for each weapon type. I listed the weapon's name, its element, and what type of frame it is. Then each sheet was given columns for the ratings provided by each source. Light GG rates weapons from S to F based on how popular the perks are within the community on a weapon-by-weapon basis. It's a great system for giving you an idea of how good a weapon might be, but it doesn't mean the weapon is a perfect fit for you or your playstyle. This is actually true for all 3 sources. The final decision on whether a weapon is great or not rests with you. Light GG also has an indicator for whether a weapon is great for PvE or PvP, or if it is a god roll, which for them means the perks on the weapon are considered good in both PvE and PvP. Destiny Recipes does a similar thing, but their scoring is displayed in percentages by default. You can switch it to the letter system, but I prefer the percentages. Their ratings are based on what the community has decided are the best perks for a weapon, and the percentage they display is the percentage of those perks that your weapon rolled with. If that is confusing, just know that their method is similar to Light GG, but the 2 sources can and do disagree. Destiny Recipes provides 3 ratings. PvE is the blue percentage, PvP is the red one, and the purple one is called polyvalent, meaning how it is rated for both PvE and PvP combined. Then we have Destiny Item Manager, which gives you a thumbs up or they don't. I will say that if a weapon has a thumbs up, inspecting the weapon will show you what perks lead to it receiving a thumbs up. So I took all of these ratings and I plugged them into the sheet for each weapon. This was great, but can be a little bit hard to read with ADHD. I need to be able to glance at any weapon and quickly get an idea of how good it is. So I came up with a color coding system. I made a list S through F, and then I assigned a percentage range for each letter, similar to the grading system many of us are familiar with from grade school. My splits aren't the same as what I grew up with, but it's definitely similar. So an F will be anything below 60. D will be 60 through 69, giggity. C is 70 through 79, B is 80 through 89, A is 90 through 94, and S will be 95 through 100. This is the way I decided to match up the Light GG ratings with Destiny Recipes. Then I assigned them colors, and I created one additional rating above S tier that I called Mythic. I'll explain that one in a second. So I went through each sheet and colored all of the ratings. When it came to dim, if the weapon had a thumbs up, it was rewarded with the S tier coloring. However, I did not punish any weapons for not having a thumbs up because it didn't seem fair to do so. For instance, crafted and curated weapons don't receive a thumbs up in dim, but they can often be better than random rolls. So now we are getting somewhere. I don't know about you, but for me, this is a tremendous visual aid. Now, about the Mythic rating, it is exceptionally rare, but every now and then, all 3 sources agreed that a weapon was S tier. When this happened, I marked that weapon's name with the mythic coloring. Then I decided to plug in the perks for each weapon, mostly for a quick reference, but this actually proved to be useful beyond simple referencing. For instance, sometimes I found that I had two different weapons that were practically the same gun because they rolled with the same perks. So potentially this means there could be some redundancies in my collection, so that may make it easier to decide between some weapons. And finally, I added 2 more columns, so I have a place to add my own ratings. I also added the ability to filter each of the columns by the values contained within. Now it is time to talk about how I will use it. Right off the rip, I'm going to be keeping anything that received a mythic rating. Each of the weapons that earned that happened to be some of my favorites in my collection, so this really only validated them further. For the rest of them, I am going to test them all out individually and give them my own rating. I am doing this on a frame-by-frame basis. For example, I have already started with my auto rifles. To start, I filtered by adaptive frames. You will notice I have 2 arc, 2 kinetic, and 2 strand adaptive frame auto rifles. My goal is to reduce this to having only one of each element for each frame. In this grouping, I need to ideally get rid of 3 auto rifles. You can see I have already chosen 1 strand and 1 kinetic to cut out. I was able to determine those with the sheet alone, but I'm still going to test them out to be fair. You can see I already started testing Old Sterling. Petualis definitely wins there. 1, because it is crafted, I can just adjust it if I need to, and 2, it has proven to be the better weapon during my playtesting. I still need to give both of them a go in PvP, but I am confident Old Sterling will be dismantled. Then I have the Last Breath marked for the chopping block, but I actually really like that role. I find it hard to choose it over the Adept Duty Bound because of Adept mods. Playtesting may change my opinion here. Maybe that Duty Bound sucks. Honestly, I have never actually used it before making this spreadsheet. This is why I think giving each weapon a last chance playtest will be useful, and I may even find some new favorites along the way. While reviewing my spreadsheet, I did some math and found that just by limiting myself to having 1 weapon for each element for each frame, I will reduce my vault space by 42. That ain't bad. It's a good start at least. I do plan to reduce it further than that, but this is where I am starting. Then I can determine a new criteria for removal when I get to that point. I hope that this wasn't extremely boring to all of you. It would be even better if this could be a useful tool for you as well, so I have put a link in the description for you to grab my spreadsheet. It will be set to read only, so you will need to make a copy of it to use for yourself. I am going to leave all of my weapons plugged into it because I haven't written instructions for the spreadsheet yet, so maybe my data can be a useful reference for you to remember how to plug everything in, or maybe you might want to see what all is in my collection, I don't know. But thanks for watching. Until next time, have a good one, y'all.